want to support the platform just in case anything like this happens again, you can do it by way of PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, and also by the Anchor. And you can also further support the platform by way of going to the Teespring store or the shoe store that is located in the comment section below. Angelo Colin Ortiz pled guilty to second-degree murder for the August 7, 2016 death of Vanessa Marcotti, age 27. Vanessa was a Google employee from New York who went missing while out for a run near her mother's home in Massachusetts just 6 years ago. And the guilty plea comes just days after the death of the victim's father, John Marcotti, age 71. Quote, regardless of the medical reasons stated on his death certificate, he died of a broken heart caused by deep and endless grief. Colin Ortiz had originally pled not guilty in the death of Marcotti, whose body was found in a wooded area about a half a mile from her mother's home in the small town of Princeton, about 40 miles west of Boston. Under an agreement that also included a guilty plea to a charge of unarmed robbery, the 36-year-old Colin Ortiz would not be eligible for parole for 45 years. Quote, we know nothing can bring Vanessa back, but we know through the meticulous work of the prosecutor and investigators involved, justice will be served, and the plea allows Vanessa's family to move on from this tragedy. The Marcotti family agreed that the deal to spare themselves the ordeal of a trial. Quote, we are thankful and gratified. The legal process has accomplished what we always wished for, that this man will not be in a place where he can hurt anyone else like this the way that he hurt Vanessa. Rosanna Marcotti stated that the death of her only child has robbed her of a lifetime of milestone moments. Quote, the brutal and evil actions of the defendant will have an everlasting effect on my life. I will never be able to express Vanessa's future achievements in her career or personal life. I will never see her in a wedding gown. I will never have the pleasure of being a devoted grandmother to her children. And as I age, I will never be comforted or cared for by Vanessa. Vanessa Marcotti, who worked as an account manager for Google, was visiting in Massachusetts and had gone out for a run several hours before she was found. She was found partially clothed with burn marks on her body. An autopsy determined that she had been strangled during a struggle. No motive was discussed in court. Colin Ortiz, who lived in nearby Worcester, worked as a delivery driver at the time of the killing and was familiar with Princeton and the surrounding area. They stated that Colin Ortiz's DNA matched DNA found underneath Marcotti's fingernails. He was arrested in April of 2017 and has been held without bail since pleading not guilty in July of 2017 to charges including attempted R, which was not included in the deal announced Wednesday. Colin Ortiz's lawyer asked a judge early this year to dismiss as evidence the DNA samples collected by the state police in March of 2017. They argued that the samples were obtained illegally because the authorities didn't have a warrant, didn't send a trooper with inadequate Spanish skills to help translate, and did not properly translate a consent form explaining Colin Ortiz's rights. The judge denied this motion. Always hear presented whenever things like this happens in the black community is that you always have people that want to wonder where are the black men to protect the women of the community. And the same question I will apply here. Where are the men of this Massachusetts community to protect their women from individuals such as this? Because it seems to me that on a common everyday occurrence directly in their neighborhoods, in their suburbs, in their states and or cities and towns, that this is a common thing that takes place. And one would have to question, why is that? Who would allow such a thing to transpire and happen to a woman that is just out there jogging, minding her own business, trying to live a healthy life, trying to live within that action, and working at a pretty good business, which, has high paying job, great insurance, and medical, vacation, things of that nature. Like I said, everything was pretty much going very great for Vanessa up until that point that she decided that she wanted to go out and exercise. And it was at that moment, during that decision, during that day, during that time, that Ortiz decided to make his move and take Vanessa's life, robbing her friends, her family, her co-workers, and any future prospects of a husband and a family of her own directly away from this plane of existence. And all for no reason. Because still to this day, police have stated that there is no motive that has been found for the reason why it is that he did what it is that he did. And then his lawyer wanted to come through and say, "Oh well, the DNA." And then his lawyer wanted to come through and state that the DNA evidence was obtained illegally and yada yada yada. But that still doesn't explain how it is that his DNA is still directly under her fingernails. To state that Ortiz pretty much doesn't know a lick of English. This is a problem here. Because I know, and regardless of however this is going to sound, right? Now, this is one thing that I do know. If I were to travel to other countries, right, and I decided that I wanted to live there or work, there has to be, in a sense, a little bit of requirements there. You should at least know of the language, or you're going to specifically deal with an area that only speaks your language. You're not going to move outside of that, because that is going to hinder you, because you initially hindered yourself by not going out there and deciding to take any classes. So it's a little bit odd to me that you would have Ortiz, in a sense, working, and he seemingly doesn't know any type of English at all, that he needs a translator. That's a little bit confusing and baffling to me, because I'm pretty sure that Ortiz knows English, or he can at least understand it to an extent, because I myself have worked with people whose primary language is Spanish, but yet we were still able to communicate, and we could still talk and understand each other, even if it was just by, throwing some, some hand signs with what it is that we were stating, or a variety of things like that. I was able to understand them, they were able to understand me, and we were able to get the job done at the end of the day. And even, after the job or during the job, we were still able to have conversations and communicate, because over time you'll start to understand, no matter how broken the English may be, you'll still, learn to understand what it is that they're stating or trying to get towards. So, as I stated before, for the lawyer to bring up literally that Ortiz doesn't know a lick of English and that he needs a translator is complete BS to me. You're not going to tell me that this guy has more than likely been here for quite some time, and he just doesn't know anything. That's 100% BS. 100% BS. Like I said before, uh, the amount of excuses that they will try to bring up in order to dismiss some charges or a case is completely baffling, and it's ridiculous to me. And it's also disrespectful to the families who have suffered such a great loss in their loved one no longer being here. And the other thing that I also have stated a multitude of times on a previous channel before, this is one of the reasons why I have told women to go out there and get their license to carry. So that if you decide that you want to move by yourself, that you want to do things on your own, that you don't have a man around and you still want to perform your everyday actions as you normally do, you should have protection directly right there with you. So if any point in time you have an individual such as Ortiz that decides that they want to commit a crime, and specifically by way of taking your life, you have the rightful tool directly there by your side to take out the initial threat.